Enjoy.
Hi, Bob.
No, I have heard about nothing. Oh, yeah, that's his food. You need to carry that home.
Thanks.
She's your manager.
Where are you going?
Man must have.
I was stand at the door.
Howard's at look. 6:35.
Stop it. Sorry.
Yes, okay, what's your name? Florence Kata and Hannah Ringer. About 10 minutes. Oh, okay. Yes.
No.
Get my phone ringing.
Hello there. I'm, he's not coming tonight.
Oh, you are.
I am.
Again, God.
Hello.
I'm in and out of jail with 11. Basically, I started sitting on the high street. I across the road from his gallery, drawing pictures of my dog of the area and sending them to Castle Quiet. And I've also a sellout show just happened to
Write down your name, because
John Doe.
John Dolan, D-O-H-E-N.
D-O-L-A-N.
D-O-L-A-N. John Dolan. Website for a picture, send it.
Send it to this gallery, the Griffin Gallery. Griffin Gallery. You've got a card?
Not right now, no.
Yeah, of course. Well, I want a sandwich or cake. I want some cake. I demand cake.
No cake. Why are you taking it out?
Will you just get a chocolate croissant?
Okay, get chocolate crust off.
Yeah.
Set this up. Yeah.
How many times have I heard that? What is it? Oh. Turns to last week.
I hate the projector. What is on this?
What is that for the projector?
That is a projector.
I mean, it's just a projector.
Yeah, I think we're going to raise it up a bit. I'm hoping that'll be high enough.
Oh, what pictures?
I know, he's back.
He's back.
Always there. Filming us in our lowest moments.
Maybe your lowest one.
He always gets me when I'm stressed and running around.
Sorry.
Jan, a bit.
She's really stressed. Okay, these two seats are mine.
Never gets me in my calm state.
Okay, so, oh my God. Right. You little cable rich.
I And then I've got an extension here. Got speakers,
Yeah.
coach, yeah. Yeah, can I have three? Yeah, and all sides. You want to take cash or card? No, that's fine. Oh, we need something higher. Okay, we'll get books. But we just have to sign through this. Well, I can't see. I need to turn this off and then bring some books. This out. I can always turn this off.
Hold on. Get me a cake.
I will.
Get me a chocolate croissant.
No cake. No cake. No cake for you. I think everything's on the side. Is that actually going to happen? It kind of is. Somebody tell me here doing this, yeah. Stop doing it. It seems like a good idea. Thank you very much. And then if you have got some smart cash,
Smack you. Okay, who am I dedicating to?
Stephen and Joyce. Stephen spelled with a PH. Is
Two.
Stephen.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, actually, I like four. Stephen with a PH.
Yeah, PHEN. This is not good.
And Joyce.
Joy, J-O-Y.
And joy,
Other side.
love,
Other side.
and thanks.
Where's the box? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's basically now.
I'll tell you what, this thing is in the way.
That'll be good. It'll work.
I've got a mini.
So we can't do it.
Don't tell me that.
Harbour. I have got panic in my voice.
Nobody panic.
I'm quite
I got his book, yeah. I thought it was, I mean, it had those captivating images in it. You know, it's candid, you know. Candid is hard to get with everybody's snappy cameras. So, yeah, it's also the aesthetic of film, right? So, yeah, it works.
Sorry.
What are you doing?
I'm not filming you. I'm not filming you.
I got running your shoes.
Don't really work out. Cheeseburger, white sauce.
Like,
station. If you come, if you turn left as you head towards Shoreditch High Street, which are you walking past that far? Now the bar that's got all the tags on. Do you work here?
Yeah.
I bought the book from it.
Yeah? Yeah, it's good.
We can drink with them.
Why don't you take these?
Yes.
Maggie's Thelma.
How are you?
This is you know, I couldn't forget the power.
Hello. With a G. Oh. That's your first name, yes?
We'll start with new, old. We'll start with old, and I have to remember what I'm doing here now. So forgive me for a moment, because it did take quite a while to set this up, and as you can see, I'm not at all prepared. I can't even find bridge. I know it's here somewhere. Okay, well,
may I ask you, how long have you been doing this project?
This project?
Yes.
You mean like photographing on the tube?
Yes.
I took my first camera down on the tube when I was about 14, when I was still at school. And I took one picture, I think, as I recall. And then I waited about 15 years to take the next one. So I've been doing it since the late 60s or the early 70s. But unfortunately, I still haven't learned to use my computer properly. Oh my God. It's much easier running films than bridge. Right. Okay. So that's not shot on the tube. No, I've never got any consent for anything. Yeah, quite in fact, I had a guy come in here, and you know the shot of the, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. Just hang on. We'll get straight into this then. I am calm, don't worry. I'm staying calm. Well, I don't know why I'm projecting these, because these are all what's on the walls. But you might want to sort of talk to me about this. Oh yeah, okay, that one, right. I'm going to now have to look for it. Okay, that's all right. Okay, this is we'll find that one. But this is a shot that I shot just in the last month. I don't know what it tells us really. It tells us that you can still do it, and then there are people who wear tattoos and are semi-clothed on the underground. Technically, I really like shooting on the tube now because the light is so much better. You know, you can shoot at, I think this was shot at 1600 ASA, which 30 years ago when I was using my old Leica with film was, forget it, it was like it was a dream that was never going to happen. And in fact, I keep getting young photographers coming up to me and saying, well, would you like to work with us in film? And I go, why? You know, when 30 to 40 years ago, I used to put my head together with other photographers and we would imagine a medium where you could shoot black and white and colour and use whatever film speed you wanted in the same roll of film, because we still thought about rolls of film because no one could imagine digital. And now we have that facility and all the young people want to use film again. So I'm kind of doing a rearguard action on digital. I'm an old person who really likes digital. But there you go. It was not so queer as folk. This is King's Cross. And I always find this picture slightly ominous because this was taken a few years before the fire. But I haven't got a lot of pictures of booking halls. But the booking hall in this shot is particularly, you know, fiery looking, and it's a bit creepy for me. But this guy was, he was playing It's Now or Never magnificently, and that's what stopped me. Can you hear me at the back?
Yes.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah. So, in case anyone doesn't know, there's an old band called Dire Straits, and their main man, Mark Knopfler, had occasion to see this picture when I was a lot younger, and after seeing it, he went and wrote Walk of Life. So that inspired a Dire Straits number, which, depending on your outlook on life, is either a good or a bad thing. That was as close as we got until June the 12th, when she arrived here and posed in front of that picture 35 years later. And her name's Charlie Santiago, and she does Glastonbury every year with a troupe of Indian troubadours who dress up like horses. But she still juggles. I found that intriguing that, you know, we got that close and we never met, because, you know, it's not something that, you know, sometimes you just can't make that contact. I probably was rushing to get on the train, and it took us 30 years to meet up, 35 years. This is probably one of the oldest pictures here or in the book. I think I took that either in the very last years of the 60s when I was still at art college, or the early 70s, I can't remember now, but they're a magnificent pair of legs, as I'm sure you'll agree. I love them dearly. I love the creased stockings, really. It took me some days, if not weeks, or possibly even longer, to notice that the headline on the newspaper was Princess. And then it took me several years to uncover the next shot that I took, where you can see the rest of the headline, and it's Princess Grace. So I think it was a bad time for her. It was a bad time for this little boy, and I'm ashamed to say I didn't help in any way, except I recorded it for posterity, and so that we would all feel guilty. But he sat there asleep whilst various people came and sat down next to him. And I photographed a few of them. One was a woman in a great big fur coat who could easily have slipped in a tenner. This guy here, this guy here. Someone wandered into the gallery about 2 weeks ago and said, "That's my dad, and he died 10 years ago." And it's kind of, you know, it was touching. Yeah, so a lot of these people are probably in the same place as his dad now. Getting a bit maudlin now. Yeah, it's sad. What amazed me when I only recently discovered this picture, you know, because in 30, 40 years you take a lot of pictures and they go into slide files and you probably don't look at maybe 10% of them, or you just pass them by. And I was sort of scraping the barrel for this thing and came across this shot. And what amazed me about it was that I'd had the nerve to take it. That I'd actually come down the escalator, saw this guy sitting at the bottom there, and actually said, "Do you mind if I take your pictures?" If he was, you know, like someone I knew well. And he had all his fingers, and it was all very normal. And he quite normally said, "Yeah, sure," and did that. And it was all okay. And I find that somewhat mysterious.
Can I ask you about, because a lot of these pictures involve a level of intrusion.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to ask you about that.
I don't ever feel that I'm intruding.
Really?
No,
You're
I feel
immune
that
to it.
I'm not immune. I'm what's the word? Engaging.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not intruding.
What's the difference?
People come away from engaging with me feeling that I haven't intruded.
People who photograph and you haven't asked their consent beforehand, do
Yeah.
they ever get offended?
If they know. But no one has ever actually got offended until recently. You know, in the current climate of, you know, terrorist and paedophilia paranoia, you know, if you sort of look as if you're about to photograph someone's kids on the tube, you get dirty looks. But at that, I mean, I've got several pictures of kids that I shot back then, you know, where they're photographing me as well. You know, so I figure it's, you know, even Stevens really. I wasn't offended by, you know, so.
So do you think you're just...
I think it's I think it's an engineered paranoia that we don't need, and you know, that we're better off without.
But people can get quite superstitious about being photographed. I mean, I've nearly been punched in the past. I mean, you sound like you think...
Oh, I had a strange experience with someone back in Hastings where I live. When I was on the pavement and I was just snapping away as people were walking by, as you do. And there was a friend of mine, well, a friend of my son actually, and I thought, I'll take a picture of him as he walks by. But he was with a girl who got very, very upset and went through the, you know, I'm going to break your camera and you could be working with the CIA. And at that point I thought, right, okay, fine, you know, I'll scrub these pictures. So I scrubbed them and I showed her, and she still didn't believe that I'd scrubbed them all. And she was getting more and more aggravated until I thought to myself, what I have to do here is kneel down on the pavement and swear that I hadn't, you know, that I had deleted everything. So I was down here like this, going in the street, going, I promise you I've deleted everything. And that seemed to faze her so much, that, and phased me as well, because I'm not used to doing that. And also it's kind of a scary moment, because she was bonkers, and she could have whopped me or broken my camera. She wanted to break my camera, and that would have been tragic. So, yeah, that was a long response. Of course, I am a supporter of free photography. I think we should all be allowed to photograph each other in public, or you know. And anyway, I think the camera is a wonderful machine, really well designed for explaining man to man, as I read somewhere. You know, it's a good device for explaining ourselves to ourselves. These guys didn't have a problem with it. They were quite pleased. I mean, that's what I find happens. You know, if you approach someone with a camera, the way I see it is that you're not offending them. You're complimenting them. It's you know, if you want to photograph someone, it's because you think they're cool or you know, in some way interesting. So that's what I hope people think.
But now it's different, not like before.
Now it is different.
Right.
Yeah, you know, there is this paranoia in the air.
Paranoia.
But you can overcome that. You know, like that shot of the tattooed man that I shot 2 weeks ago. You know, I saw him I was at the other end of the carriage, and I saw this naked bloke with an eagle on his back, and I thought, I must go and photograph that. So I walked up to him and I just said, I love your tattoos, do you mind if I photograph your back? And he thought about it for a split second and went, no. So I photographed his back, and then I got him to turn around, and we spent 2 or 3 minutes talking, and in the end I got off the train and I felt like we were friends, and I felt great. You know, I didn't feel that I'd stolen anything from him or intruded, or, you know, what had happened was that 2 human beings got together, and you know, I took something away with it. Hopefully he took something away with it from it as well. I mean, this is a good example of that. You know, I saw these guys, and I wanted to photograph them. They weren't doing that. As soon as they saw me pointing on the camera at them, they went into this scrum in front of this couple. And yeah, you know, she looks quite concerned. But I mean, look at them. They're all smiling. They're all, you know, up for it. I don't think I took it any further than that. I don't think anyone knew I was taking this. Afterwards, I noticed that the newspaper headline says "London at heart," and I always liked that because I don't think I saw that at the time. So it's one of those little things. And I think that this little magazine at the top right corner is an old music magazine that's no longer published, so that's kind of a bit of history for you too, if you like those little details. I don't know whether you saw the pictures at the front of the gallery, but I stood there for a good minute while she was on the phone to whoever it was, and in one of the periodicals that these pictures have appeared, some critic has written that this is classic sort of newspaper stuff, that she was doing this for me. You know, she was posing for me, which is actually completely untrue. She didn't even know I was there. I mean, I was there with a little camera. I'm sure she didn't know. And she was already doing that when I found her. But she was doing all this posing, and I kind of felt that if I'd looked around behind me, I might have found a film crew, you know, that I was unaware of, but there wasn't anyone there. She was, I don't know. I'd love to know. I really would like to meet her and find out what was going on, who she was calling, because there was a bloke she was with who was waiting very patiently for her to finish this performance. And then they went off down the escalators, and I actually followed them onto the platform, like the voyeur that I am. So I wanted to see what transpired, and they lost me. I like these two because it looked like, well, I actually never thought this about this picture until my nephew said, oh, it looks like they've set up home in a phone booth. You know, they've got their flowers and their sounds and bits and pieces, and ever since he said that to me, I kind of liked it more and more, and it became one of my favourite pictures. And also, I just love the directness of their gaze. And it's not, you know, it's not flashy. And I'm not trying to be flashy. I never would. This is New Year's Eve. I don't think we spoke. I might have said, do you mind if I photograph you with your drinks? You know, I mean, how could you say no? And you know, this is the joy of trains. I'm a bit of a train buff, so I kind of love the idea that, you know, this ordinary tube train comes in and this little girl's so excited she leaps into the air. And also I love the whole, you know, I love the multi-ethnic thing that's going on. And it's a pretty good sari too. Like, he's got a really smart little suit on with flares. So, yeah, and this is... I mean, I stood there for I don't know, maybe 5 minutes. I did occasionally find myself thinking, well, you know, I really need a picture of people descending into the underground. You know, I've got to get one of those shots, you know, because you kind of look at all the, you know, hundreds of people doing the sort of ants thing. And so Oxford Circus seemed like a good bet. So I was standing there, and I kind of thought, as I recall, you know, I'll frame up the metal fence, you know, about there. And then she came down and just poked her tongue out at that point, and was wearing a pink top. And it was like, it was, yeah, it was, I think I said a little prayer of thanks. Anyone know where that is? I always thought it was Great Portland Street.
The Wood Green.
Huh?
Is it?
Green.
Wood Green?
Yeah.
Really?
Baker Street?
I'm willing to believe that. I've always thought it was on the Metropolitan or something, you know. I don't think Wood Green's on the Met, is it? No. No, but it's the green tiles, but you might be right. I can't remember. I once knew, but I've forgotten now. Little details that you can't really see very clearly now. I like the string tied up here, you know. And if you look at the print, I think you can actually see a cobweb somewhere. Now this is another picture that I kind of only recently discovered while I was getting the show together. And for some reason I really liked it. I like the camaraderie between those two guys who I think they weren't mates, you know. They looked like they might have been, you know, one's got a mohawk and the other's, what were the others? Like, who is it who wore the bother boots?
Skinheads.
Skinheads, yeah. It was like a mohawk and a skinhead carrying a fag. And I kind of like the quiet nature of the guy passing the fag. And also I liked it because it was a quiet picture. It's another non-flashy picture.
Train.
Oh no, it's not. It's the Waterloo City line. sort of 1930s vision of the future. I believe those trains do not run anymore now, but they were fantastic. Something we've all done. What I found incredible about this was that I only ever saw that once on that poster. I never saw it anywhere else. It was like some guy passed by or woman and had a moment's inspiration. And it never got repeated anywhere by anyone else that I found. But it's begging for it, isn't it, really? That's Peter Barnsley Armitage, who should be on the walls of this gallery, but we've misplaced his print, even the one that's in the big frame. But there you go. I think someone came and nicked it the day I delivered them all. It might have been him. we were just, I mean, this was a split second as we walked past one another. He gave me the sign, and I snapped him, and that was it. We went by, and now I know him through Facebook. Yeah, there's another shot of the two of them on the platform, and she's kind of looking up at him with this sort of adoring longing in her face. They're not kissing, but he's still standing there with his arms behind his back. And the whole time he never unclasped them. And at this point I thought, this is going to end in tears. And I thought that was probably the final kiss. And well, who knows? Are these people? This was a really crowded platform. I had to really squeeze through the people on the platform to get to stand in front of these people, and I stood with my back to them for a while, plucking up the courage to turn around and photograph them, and I finally did. And did the usual stuff. You look great. Can I photograph you? And she just said, yeah. So, end of the story, really. I like everything about it. It speaks for itself. Yeah, the guy in the middle being arrested by two plainclothes guys. They're not just members of enthusiastic members of the public who are having a go. They are plainclothes, and this guy. This is at Oxford Circus, and this guy I'd been up on the street, and there'd been this kind of kerfuffle. I could see in the crowd ahead of me getting nearer and nearer and nearer, like a cartoon, as I keep saying. I keep saying this about this picture because that's the only way I can describe it. It was like I could see people's sort of arms and hats going flying through the air, and it got nearer and nearer and nearer, and then he sort of burst out of the crowd and nearly knocked me over, went running by and down into the tube, and I chased after him, and so did these guys, and we all met up then. Including the woman in the poster. I didn't ask this lady if I could photograph her. That's why that explains the low camera angle. I just thought, it's a good match moment. The match is perfect. And as that's basically that's an old black and white name that's been scanned, and then I put it through Photoshop, and so it's all a lot easier. You can draw around the love, the shades, and then you can brighten up the eyes, and it's all really easy and wonderful. Back in the old days in the darkroom, it would have been bloody difficult. See, this is one of those things where it's a sort of the camera does live situation, because he looks like, he's sick of these young people sitting next to him, but actually that's not what he was, just very tired, I could tell. I don't know whether anyone's seen there's a contact strip at the front of the gallery which shows this picture, and then there's two more of them, and then there's shot of the punk girl with the pierced nose. I keep looking at you. It's a personal thing now. Yeah, so this is like the other end of that strip. And in the first picture I took of her, she's in the middle of the frame, and it just didn't feel right at the time. So I thought, I'll shift her over to the right, and then I get some more of everyone else in the carriage, and there's more going on. And then the lights kind of point at her, and I'm sure that's Nicole Williamson in the middle. But so there it is. There's that strip. So, and in this shot, these two are actually looking at each other for a moment. That's yeah. I can remember standing there thinking, dare I do this? Which one of these three people is going to hit me? And fortunately, none of them did. And yeah, I have to confess that I did a little bit of work on the urine in Photoshop. It really is there, but I sort of just brightened it up a bit, as you would, come on. And that's funny because that's a projection. You could take the sheet away now and project that image onto that picture, which is what that is. That's too complex for me to explain. Yeah, I walked onto the platform. He was fiddling with the clock. He was, I don't know what, correcting it. And then he put his hands down for really a split second. And in that split second, I realised it was going to be an iconic image. And he shut it. At exactly 26 minutes past 10, probably in the evening. I would never have been up. Okay, so we're back to square one, I think. Okay, so straight. And I'd shot this, I think I was still at college. This is on my way to Manchester on a train, obviously. And I was walking through the corridor, through the aisle, and there they were. And I had my nickel mat at the time, at waist level, ready to photograph the unwary. And I just loved the cans of beers. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cans. You'd look happy, wouldn't you? And I love the radio, it's like, now they both have earbuds in, and, I was standing there and I really wanted to photograph this down and out, who made his bed for himself like a bridge. He made a little bridge for himself to sleep on these bricks. And this started to happen on the left as the coach couldn't get around that bend. This is Cambridge Circus. And I was just about to shoot it when these people walked in front of me. And I shot it anyway. I was kind of a bit pissed off with them because I thought they'd spoilt it. But actually now, my excuse for having them there and using it is that you kind of can feel what is happening here in the same way that I'm feeling that. I really like photographing in the street, but you kind of want to take it somewhere else, and people have taken it somewhere else. They've used other techniques. They're probably much better photographers than I am, but you kind of always want to have a go at it. And I've pointed out to people that in this exhibition there are about 30 to 40 pictures, and they cover 30 to 40 years. So that's one picture a year. Whereas I'm showing you 200 pictures that I've taken in the last week. So if you get one in a week, that's bloody good. Unless you're doing a wedding. And I did do a wedding. In fact, I couldn't go to Glastonbury this year because someone booked a bloody wedding the same weekend. And I was really pissed off about it, and I really wanted the relationship to fail. I promise you, I really did. But they stuck with it, and they got married, and I kind of got over it. And actually took quite a lot of nice pictures. Just blowing my own trumpet there. I actually quite like photographing weddings because I can do this. You know, I like photographing people, and weddings are a great place to do that. And then, yeah, the 48 bus goes past, yeah. So, you know. I was just checking. And then, £1 chairs. I don't know whether that was £5 for 6 chairs or £5 for one, but I thought it was interesting. Yeah, mushroom in a wall, yeah. And then I wondered about that. I wondered whether I'd actually seen it, you know, or what it was doing there. Was it the leftover of someone's interior design, or you know, the whole rest of the building had collapsed? Because I then saw more of them for sale further down the road on the bus trip. So this is coming back from Hackney, and I set the camera to 6,400 ASA just for the fun of being able to shoot at night, and got the woman crossing the road. I recommend, you know, sitting on the top of a bus with your film speed set to 6,000 ASA, photographing anything that goes by. And then, you know, I really like this picture because it reminds me of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's just one more than 42. But I like this combination of flower arrangement and dustbin. And then I was on my way to my friends to spend the night there, and I came across this event in a little supermarket. So I quickly tried to get a bit closer, just to find out what was quite going on, I don't know. And this is being on the tube and just shooting through the window. I'm kind of being deliberately, you know, not trying. I'm trying to not try too hard. You know, like you're on the train, it's probably going 20 miles an hour now. You can't really see anything that's going on. But if you shoot at, you know, 250th of a second, you're going to get something. And if you shoot maybe 5 frames as the train leaves the station, maybe one day you'll get a good shot. The whole kind of world of photography is blown apart now, isn't it? Because, you know, we can all shoot pictures on our phones, and then there are people shooting, you know, with huge format cameras, and there are no rules anymore. Not that there are any rules to begin with, but if you haven't been to the Tate Gallery recently, you should go, because this is a really good installation. That's just a nude that I liked. So, yeah, that's that. Inadvertently opened Photoshop. Didn't mean to. Oh, that's that colour shot in black and white. I really like that picture. And if you know, if I was putting a show together in another 30 years' time, I'd probably include that. So I'm happy to end with that. Traditionally, you've got to ask me something now.
Have you dated any or many of the pictures, like years or, you know, dates?
No, I once knew the specific years, and if you know, on some of the black and white negs, you know, there is sheets that go, let's say, you know, 1973. But no, the dates are getting more and more blurry. I know that they're 70s or 80s or 90s. I mean, what's happened is that they've become historically interesting because there is obviously, you know, they're full of signs and signals about the past. I started after, I suppose, 5 or 10 years of doing them. I thought, I looked around and I thought, there's no one else doing this. No, I haven't, in 10 years, I've not seen a collection of pictures of the tube, and I started to think, oh, I've got something special. But at the same time, I started to worry that some young whippersnapper would get down there and sort of do it all and then make a book, and, you know, I'd still be shooting it for another year. But it never happened. Well, the underground is a weird concept, isn't it? In many ways, you know, you don't think about it. It's classically obvious, isn't it? There's a warren underneath. We all inhabit, and it's actually quite a dangerous idea, isn't it? You know, you don't really want to go down to the ground and travel around in metal tubes. And, no one wants, you know, everybody hates it when they stop. And technologically, you get, you know, the long trains you can see all the way down the length of. I love all that. And luckily, I didn't get to show you the movie I shot on a certain one train, which is going like this, you know, and it's like being in the belly of a snake. And you know, I think it's a great development, tube train technology, because it looks so fantastic. It's as profound as I can get.
It's just interesting because it's over a period of years.
Yeah.
So it's just an interesting thought. I think for me, it's an interesting thought.
I think the thing that astounds me about the city, or all cities, is that there aren't more punch-ups and accidents. You know, that we're 99.999 recurring. We go through our lives in London. We don't bump into each other. We don't have accidents every 50 yards. It is a miracle. It's like, you know, when you look at a flock of starlings doing their thing, and you think, none of them bump into each other. I feel like that when I walk through Liverpool Street Station. Humans are wonderful machines, you know. I think I'd really love to be around 100 years from now to see where this has all gone, you know, where we've all got to, and where the technology. Photographically, I'd love to know what we'll be using to record ourselves, and I would like to see whether we've got any better or worse. I'm optimistic. As long as we get to Mars.